Welcome to Knowla Livestock at Moppy, under the foothills of the Barrington Tops on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. It's steep country, but it's good breeding cow country. The management is more or less solely done by the people that are standing here in front of you today. Jack, my brother Ted, Al, Georgie and my wife Annie, and of course King at the front here. That's an integral part of the operation. It's horse and dog country. Our business is around, has always been around a commercial herd of 500 plus commercial cows, breeding for the feeder steer market. And we've grown our stud industry on the demand of that market, grown to a level of 250 or thereabouts stud females, essentially that supply bulls for that commercial herd. And as it's become more successful, we've increased the amount of bulls we've been able to sell to clients that we've established over a long period of time of selling bulls. Essentially in this country here, we've got to be pretty mindful our cows can survive in this steep hill country, and then put the pressure on the bulls to produce the progeny that satisfy those markets, particularly the feeder steer market and our growing bull market. There's been huge changes in the Angus breed in the last 25 years. Just the performance that they now do and how they can satisfy their markets at a younger age. A lot more focus on the carcass traits, and we've been able to shift the performance of our steers in feedlots by focusing on those carcass traits. And I suppose right along the chain, we've been able to do things better. So whether it's from a fertility perspective on farm, whether it's for growth rates, or whether it's then at the carcass measured, or ultimately the most important person, the consumer now, I think can probably have a better chance of getting an Angus meal that satisfies them than probably what they did 25 years ago.
I think for Knowla Livestock for the next 10 years, it's just steady as she goes. I think we've made some massive gains in the last few years, probably the last 10 or 15, on our genetics in our herd and our pastures, the grass we're growing. Probably, if we're going to change anything, we probably just need to focus a little bit more on the sustainability things. I think community as a whole now have higher expectations of how we run our business. That's probably the next thing we really need to focus on.
I suppose the challenge is always with the season, but in agriculture you've got to accept that. But I think probably the diminishing returns and rising costs in the early 2000s, when the cattle market basically plateaued for 10 years, was the biggest challenge, because we were essentially flatlining there or going backwards on our real returns. And so that was probably been the biggest challenge, and probably some of the best achievements of how strong agriculture's been in the last 2 or 3 years, where finally we felt like we're getting rewarded for our efforts and the gains we've made within the industry. And I think from 2020 to 22, that agriculture's been a great place to be in, and the beef industry is always going to have challenges placed in front of it. But we've got to keep accepting those challenges and meeting them, and the Angus breed is at the forefront of accepting those challenges, because something as basic as emission, there's research happening there now so that we're going to be able to quantify the emissions within our breed and select for it. And so that's how we're lucky that we're in the Angus breed at the forefront of science and research, that they're going to assist us as cattle producers to make good decisions in the future to essentially answer those challenges that consumers and society at large are going to throw at agricultural people.
Some of the best years, my early years, is when my dad was alive, and I had 10 years to work with my dad. And I'd like to think these guys, and not just Jack and Georgie, but Sandy, Doug and Rob, have spent a fair bit of time working here, even though they're not here at the moment, that they actually have a bit of fun working with us too. And sometimes they're going to say we're not probably the easiest crew to work with all the time, but going forward, I think that's a massive thing to be able to say that you had the opportunity to work with your father or your brothers and sisters in a working business environment. Not everyone in society gets that opportunity, and I think as a family we're very lucky to be in that situation where we get to work with family.
Well, we grew up in Mirth in the production here. Mum was never one to sort of sit at home with us kids. We were in the yards and toddling around, probably spent more time getting in the way, but our involvement with Angus cattle, I think, started when we were born. We were at bull sales, we were at sales in town, we were in the paddock, we were getting dragged around on a horse on a lead rope, and I think we both absolutely loved it. Maybe a little bit of brainwashing in there, but I don't think that we're too upset about it. Jack and I have both been heavily involved with the Angus Youth programs. We both started off doing Angus Youth roundups. I think we were both, 7 when we first did our own, and we've probably done well over 10 since that. We've had a huge involvement then as we've got older with the Angus Foundation and the scholarships that they have to offer. They've provided us with a tremendous amount of opportunities to travel to various conferences, see different parts of the industry, and I think that you can't really put into words how much Angus Youth has provided to Jack and I, both from a point of view about the people that we've met, the connections and the friendships that we've made, but also the personal development that we've gained through this program.
I think the networking, the people that Georgie and I have been able to meet, not only in Australia but across the globe through Angus Youth and across all facets of the supply chain and overall beef industry has been incredible. And the ability to network with those people and meet those people is world class and second to none. And I encourage anyone to try and get involved. And you don't have to actually have cattle in your backyard to get involved. It's there's so many opportunities that are just sitting there and that are there for the taking. So if you're not in it, you can't win it.
Jack and I were talking about this before we decided that working with our families, the 3 Ps, patience, persistence and prescription glasses. But all jokes aside, I think Jack and I both are incredibly fortunate to be able to have grown up working with our dad and our uncle. They've taught us an incredible amount, not just about looking at cattle and breeding cattle, but about the country, growing grass. James in particular has taught me to stand up for myself, and if I'm not happy with how something's happening, to have the confidence to say it. Our dad is a very patient and kind man, and I think that he's also taught us that, just take things, do it with, take your time, and everything will work out. And I think that we're both really fortunate to be able to live where we live and have grown up looking up to Dad and James. Yeah. If James is uphill, we look up to him.
I think the Angus breed has got so many good things going for it. It's at the forefront of all technical research and the forefront of advancement in genetics and genomics. And I just also keep on coming back to the people too. I think the Angus breed has got some fantastic breeders and some fantastic people that you just love to mix with. And I think that's a real bonus for us, not just now, but in the past and going forward. You meet some really fantastic people, so you get to run your business and do what you love and to do it with people that you're enjoying being with.